Here we go, here we go, here we go. And we're back like we never left. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Sports is My Love Language podcast. And I'm here with the crew. I'm super excited because guess what? We have a new addition to the family. I'm going to get into that first. But first, I want to introduce the crew, man. You all know them. We got my man Javito. We got AKP Pablo, aka El Schefter. We have my man Usman. We got Drake. And ladies and gentlemen, this week we're really excited to introduce you to the newest addition to the family, Jen Vega. Jen, a lot of people know you because your
Hi.
comments, you're
Yeah.
constantly in there. Yeah, definitely putting in your opinion. But I wanted to say this about you before, and I want to give you flowers right now and say we did not pick Jen because she's a woman that knows sports. We picked Jen because Jen knows sports and she happens to be a woman. You know what I mean? Just so you guys
Thank
know the
you.
difference. She knows her shit. She can hang with the boys. She can hang with anybody who knows their sports thing. So that's why she here. She earned her spot. We're super excited about it. And this week we got a bit of a. I'm not gonna lie. I'm the one that put it out there because I got some hot takes on what I'm about to talk about, and it's definitely it's PEDs in sports. All right, there's a lot of different directions we can go with this, but I definitely want to hear everybody's opinion. Whether you care about it, who do you think is on it, whatever you want to put out there, we'll go in that direction, and then come back to me because I definitely have an opinion on it. I've definitely got a big opinion on it. So let's go here. What do you call it, Javito? What are your thoughts, man? PEDs in sports. What do you think is the kicker here?
I mean, obviously, I'll just start off with Major League Baseball. Obviously, it's known. It was known. I'm not too sure if it's basically being used at this point, but I think as science has basically shown us that it gets very enhanced. It gets very to the point that it's hard to detect. Right? They're gonna keep on finding ways.
Hmm.
Right? So I can't just say yes. This guy's taking something because it's just not. There's no evidence at this point to say that one of these baseball players are basically taking any PEDs at this point. But you know, let's just be honest. It's always going to be questioned. It's not like these guys are going out there and hitting 60 home runs anymore. But pitchers. Pitchers were big users. If we're going to go back, we got to talk about Roger Clemens. One of the most dominant baseball pitchers of all time, and he was known to be a PED user. So how many pitchers are using it at this point to basically help themselves, considering that the game has basically been, let's just say, shifted more offensively. The ballparks are not all basically having 400 feet fences to the right to left. They basically bring them in now when they build these stadiums. So in the end, as just evolution goes, people are just bigger and stronger, right? Like we're getting bigger and
Yeah.
stronger people as time goes on with basically with just actual nutrition. But yeah, man, like we could keep going, and in football, Bill Romanowski, does is he is a hell of a football player without the PEDs, Sean Merriman, he was a defensive player of the year. Who else? David Boston was a great receiver. Like so. What do I think about PEDs in sports? I think in some sports like football, I think it's kind of like needed. Why? The wear and tear. You want to see the best. You want to see the best players out there, right? And I'm not saying that it's not cheating because it is still cheating, but you kind of want to see the best football players out there because it's such a physical sport. You don't want you want these guys to recover because they're just so great, just naturally. That with the PEDs, you know what I'm saying, they could recover a bit quicker. Now, as far as basically on the Canelo Alvarez boxing, he got caught. So now we got to question the boxing atmosphere or the fighting atmosphere. And allegedly, I know Mike, you bring it up at times in pre-productions or whenever we're just conversating about Tom Brady. Like I got you, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy that this guy's 40 something years old, and it doesn't look like a hit even bothers him. So like my take is, it's still in sports. Is it ever going to be out? No, because they're just going to keep on finding ways to basically improve and not be detected.
Yep. Jen, what are your thoughts on steroids and in different sports and all that? What are you thinking?
Okay, so PEDs used to be this guy you got it from around the corner who was hush hush. Now they're designer, they're synthetic. You can barely detect them. Classic case is Julian Edelman when he got caught. He got caught, but it was never classified as what it was because it was made so well that they couldn't figure it out. All they knew was that the makeup was similar to other PEDs. I understand why players use them. I understand that it's to enhance their skills. It's not gonna make you recover quicker. In fact, it's gonna break your body down faster. There is somewhat of a youth hormone effect that you get from it, but if you're already aging, all it does is slow you down, HGH. It doesn't necessarily make you a superstar. You already have to have those skills in place. The issue that I have with it is if Joe DiMaggio could play without it, if John Elway could play without it, when it comes to looking at these player stats later on down the line, I don't feel like you should be able to compare. I just don't, because you have that upper hand using those PEDs. And I mean, the two biggest sports that you see it in are in baseball and football, but it's across the board. They're used everywhere at this point. Let's be honest. They are. And I feel like the testing that they do is just to make the public happy. I really don't think they care. I don't think officials care. I don't. It's just to appease the public and to have us say, well, at least they're testing. So I'm not a fan of it, but I understand why players do it in the end.
All right, Lady Pablo.
I'll just go a little bit and just comment on that. Why they do it? Let me add to that. Money, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a really good player.
Oh yeah.
You get the extra 10 million.
Yeah.
Things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So just added to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear, what you're saying, Jen, and I definitely understand, why you're not a fan of it, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who aren't fans of it for those same reasons, and I'm sure others. When I look at it from a totality perspective, it doesn't really matter to me as a fan. I would much rather say make it an even playing field and let them all do it. But let it be out in the open, let it be transparent. But that also means some other things for me. So let's just say something like HGH, or how you were mentioning some of that information on it. If you're going to make it open and you're going to allow it, then study it for real,
Right.
And over time you'll have information and results and testing and things like that, and just see what those ramifications are, because it's going to continue to happen no matter what.
Oh yeah.
But it's not going to be everyone. Because there'll always be that fear. Well, if I get caught, I'm not a high, I'm not a superstar. I'm done for. Others will get a pass. Blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter what sport it is, in general. So you know what? Screw it. Let them all do it. Then it's all in an even playing field after that. And then, like I said, if people still don't like it because of ramifications, like long-term effects and things like that, well, there are other things that people take that are legal. Whether it's medication or things like that has long-term effects as well. And just treat it as such and be it that way. Now, there could be maybe some sports where maybe it is an advantage, and that that'll be up to each type of league or whatever. And I know Mike will want to touch on that piece a little bit later. But that's fine. But like if you look at the big sports, where it's been the topic of conversation, football, if HGH helps players recover, I'm all for it. Especially on these like Thursday night games that I have over the last couple of years not become a fan of them having it, because as you guys know, I play a lot of fantasy football, and I'll give you the example tonight. I've got Cordero Patterson in a couple of leagues. He's a game time decision. If the game wasn't on a Thursday, on a Sunday, he's probably playing. So then you know what? If you're gonna be adding another game, and you're gonna have these short week games, and things like that, then you know what? Let them use whatever they need to use if it helps them recover, because they're gonna do it anyway. They're gonna do it anyway. Like in baseball, you know, Javi was touching on it. Let them all do it. You know, just because you know you've got a big muscles, I mean, you're gonna be able to hit that ball out of the park. You still gotta have that eyeball contact and be able to hit the ball. You still gotta have that skill set. You know, let pitchers recover from the HGAs. You know, basketball, you know, they're playing every night. You know, basically back-to-back nights, you know, a lot of times, but they're playing 82 games over whatever 6-month span. So, you know, and then you trickle on down to sports. Hockey, same concept. It's a heavy schedule, 82 games. You know, it's a lot of hitting in that one. So that's just kind of my take on it as a high level, you know, overall, you know, 12,000 foot view of it.
Yeah.
Just open it up, study it, analyze it, maybe make better, more safer products out of the science that comes out of it. That's how I look at it.
I'm going to pause to read some comments just so that we can keep it going along. Draw low, the PED doesn't make you better. It enhances your physical endurance. So if you sucked from the get-go, you will, and you're on PEDs, you will suck. But I believe many players were allowed PED like McCaffrey, I guess. What up, guys? What up, Louis? 98 home run kings were when PEDs paved the way for new athletes who wanted to be stronger and faster. Yeah, definitely. To save baseball, man. What do you call it? All right. So we're on Usman. Usman, what you got for us?
So remember back in the day, there was a commercial with Grant Hill where he, you know, grabs a bottle of Sprite, takes a sip, goes up and dunks the ball, right? So the kid watching him quickly rushes off, gets a Sprite, you know, opens, takes a sip, goes up and gets trapped at the rim and falls down, you know, because like Grant Hill drinks Sprite. So you're not going to become Grant Hill just because you drank Sprite. If any of us had PEDs tonight, believe me, none of us are playing in the NFL ever. So
you're not lying, bro. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Speak for yourself, bro. What the hell?
So the way I look at it is you got to have skills in order for you to enhance those skills, you know? Now, so this is my dilemma or my question when it comes to this topic. If two of us, if LeBron and his nemesis, two of them, one of them uses PEDs and the other one does not, and the other person goes the extra mile, damaging their body that 20 years from now, he doesn't care. He's going to have, issues with mental or physical health. But he won the championship, won the $1 million, big contracts and so forth. So that's my biggest issue when it comes to this topic is if there are physical, consequences to your body, even 10, 15 years down the road, is it worth it? It's not fair to say, well, it's available. You can all take it. Whoever wants to risk their bodies, go at it. That's not fair because if there's a competitive edge given in that circumstance, to me, that's unfair. That's uneven. But if there's no physical consequences to PEDs and it's just your decision if you want a gummy bear or not, well, then it's on you. Do you? But a lot of people who are on a cusp of making the league, who are $1 million contract or jobless away, and if I have to risk 20 years of my body, a lot of us are doing it. So it's just a really tough subject from that perspective, and that's my take on it.
All right, Dre, and then Akil. Go ahead, Dre. What you got?
Cricket.
What's up, everybody? I agree. I agree with a lot of what everybody's saying, but for me, it depends on the sport because I view it from the sports that I played, which was track and field and soccer. And if Usman just made a joke, but if I had PEDs that could heal my knee, I could still be out there rocking right now.
True.
And in track and field, it is definitely an advantage. It's something that it's either everybody should be allowed to use it or nobody should be allowed to use it because the person that's on it in track and field or on a soccer field has a great advantage over his opponents, and that's unfair. Also, within sports like swimming and stuff like that, I know about how guys used to disguise being clean for competitions because they would take it in training and then stop a little while before competition and flush it out of their system. So when they test clean, but they're depending on the extra training that they were able to do over those last few months. So it's like a lot of different ways. In track and field is very unique because it's a bunch of different ways to enhance blood doping, stuff that still happens today. And it's like you get caught. Marion Jones got caught. As far back as I can remember, Seoul Olympics, 1988, Ben Johnson. He beat Ben Johnson, the Canadian. He beat Carl Lewis, but then 2 days later, the shame and the disgrace of having to give up that medal. So in those sports, I feel like I agree. If they find a way that the stuff doesn't harm guys later down the road and it enhances, because that's the exact acronym, performance enhancement. So if you need your product's performance enhanced, then what's the problem, right? And if it's across the board, then it's no advantage to anybody.
Basically, yeah, that's what people are saying. Like, if you're able to do it that way, that kind of makes sense, you know? AK, right. What are your thoughts on this whole situation with PEDs?
I think the biggest problem with PEDs is definitely in chess with Adderall and Ritalin. Magnus Carlsen doesn't have the same advantages or has a bigger advantage than Bobby Fischer did. So I think that we got to seriously think about what really matters. But no, shit. That's actually banned in chess, by the way. I have to throw that in there. But I think, first of all, I think go RU. Maybe we'll go bowling this year for the first time. Look, I think there's a lot of ways to look at this. I don't think you should ever blatantly allow it. And the only time I've seen that in recent history was probably baseball in the 90s. They completely turned a blind eye to it. I think since then there's been different aspects to it. I think Dre hit the nail on the head on the recovery piece. So it's not just about being able to kill somebody because you're bigger in the weight room. I think the recovery piece is enormous. And I do think I don't think there's a level playing field if you make steroids legal. Because if you look at leagues all over the country now and all over the world, you have people from countries like India, from continents, Asia and Africa, and they won't have access to the same PEDs that the athlete who's recruited in, middle school or high school over here does. So I think it absolutely tilts towards more
on the world stage. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And now U.S. sports are world sports. You look at the best players in every sport, aside from maybe football, are not American born. When you're looking at the actual best, like maybe a Giannis, obviously in hockey, McDavid, there's just, I think it puts even more advantage to the developed countries and their athletes who obviously have ridiculous at training advantages already. And then the last thing, just the term PED is interesting because there's vitamins. Are those PEDs if they're legal? You know what I mean? And then there's some vitamins that have been around forever that are still legal, but then there's vitamins that haven't even been put on banned substances yet because they're not on the substance list yet, but they will be in a year, 2 years, 5 years. So there's so many ways to look at this. I don't try and guess too much on who does it because I think if I'm guessing and they are not, I'm adding to kind of taking away from all the work they've done in their life. But that's how I feel in general.
So check this out, right? You know me, I got strong opinions on PEDs only because I feel like everybody's on them. The technology and the testing, right, is so far behind. It's so far behind what they're actually doing. And it's most blatantly seen in like combat sports and the UFC, where you start hearing terms like microdosing. You start hearing terms like different chemical put together to kind of create these different, where they bypass certain blockers and certain tests that they have, or the tests are so expensive that they have to see indicators to even give them that test. You know what I mean? So like to me, right now, right, I don't think we're in an age, right, where you're looking to get bigger, stronger, faster. I don't think that's the age we're in for as far as PEDs. I think absolutely we are in the age of recovery, repair, availability. Because at the end of the day, the best ability is availability. So the fact that you can get on the field, you can get on the court, you can get in the baseball or on the soccer pitch, that is probably the number one thing, you know what I mean, that's going to earn you money, that's going to keep you in the league. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of guys out there right now that that's the side that they're aiming on. And I'm willing to throw everybody under the bus. I don't give a shit. Manny Pacquiao is on steroids. Tom Brady's on steroids. No, I'm using the wrong term. My bad. I'm using the wrong term. They're not on steroids. They're on something. Manny Pacquiao's on something. Kamaru Usman's on something. They're all on something. Here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to be naive and put it out there that, oh, we could be that. Because what we're sending our kids, the message we're sending our kids is, yo, and ideally in sports, this is what you want. If you work hard, you put your head down, you do your best, this is what you're going to do. This day and age, that's bullshit. We're lying to our children. Because guess what? Until you put that needle in your ass, until you take that pill, you will never get to that level. And it's not fair. So let's be realistic and say, yeah, work hard, bust your ass, yo. But no, you see that guy over there? See, because there's a lot of guys, right, that are on that cusp of being Division I athletes. They're on the cusp of going pro, right?
Exactly.
And they're sitting there trying to really do it the right way, right? And you know what they're doing? They're burning in the minor leagues. Bro, they're training their ass off over there in South Florida because they think that these NFL guys are doing it the right way. And it's bullshit. And it's a bullshit. It's a fib. It's a lie. They're not. All of them have they have available to them, like Akil said, the newest, best, highest grade of PED, of TRT, of any combination you want to put in your body. They have the best of the best. And guess what? They will continuously be ahead of the curve. It's like the drug war. It's like the drug war. We put up laws, the narcos figure it out. You feel me? And exactly. And that's the other thing. And that leads us into the next part. I want to kind of transition us into what do you call it, the next part of the same question. Okay, so guys, we're talking about PEDs, we're talking about steroids. We all very clear that Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, A-Rod, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, we can name a ton of guys, right? At some point within the 90s, early 2000s, they did their deeds and they were on steroids or some kind of combination of. My question to you guys is, do you believe it should keep them out of the Hall of Fame? Let's stick to baseball. In baseball,
no. And I'm just gonna say no, just because at this point, I feel like it's just in sports in general right now. You know, I think it's gonna be one of those things that eventually it just might be part of it, and they're just gonna be like the hell with it. You know, I think eventually down the line, like PED is innocent. Part of just sports in general. You know what I'm saying? Going back to what you were saying about, you know, the recovery time, my man Andy Pettit, so one of the only ones that said, yes, I took it, but I took it to basically recover from an injury, right. You know? And right then and there, that's where I kind of like started to wonder, all right, so it's not just about being the bigger, stronger guy, it's about something else as well. Right?
Exactly.
So right then and there, I took HGH a little bit differently. I didn't say, oh, I'm not saying that towards Barry Bonds, because Barry Bonds specifically took it to become a stronger guy and try to hit 70 home runs, because from, you know, alleged basically commentary and rumors, he was upset that Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were getting all the basically fame, right? So
he was like, I got to keep up.
You know, I got to keep up. But, you know, on the other aspect, I do want to see the best players on the field. You know, so, you know, at this point back then when it was all happening, I was like, oh, these guys are cheaters. No, they shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But right now, I changed my mind because of, you know, the good. I kind of want to see these guys, right? I don't want to see a no name like a Brady Anderson become a great player, hitting 50 home runs that, you know, a couple of seasons because he's not that good, you know. But Barry Bonds has always been good. Like we said in pre-production, he had two careers, and both careers they were Hall of Fame, right?
Yep.
So, you know, at this point, I'm just going to say, no, it shouldn't stop these guys from getting into the Hall of Fame anymore.
Jen?
Okay, I'm going to be the unpopular opinion. First, my question is, how many of you guys have been to Cooperstown and stood in the hall where all the plaques are? Honestly, who's been to Cooperstown?
I went, but I was little. I went, but I was little. I don't remember.
I want to. Haven't been there.
Thank you, Aoka, by the way. If you have ever been to Cooperstown and you have stood in that hall, There is an aura in that hall. You have all the greats in that hall listed that have made it into the Hall of Fame. And we're going back to Whitey Ford, Yogi Berra, and you know what? They didn't have PEDs. And I'm sorry, but if you're washed up and you're done, you're done. Stop playing. You should not, if you are found out to have taken steroids, I'm sorry, you should not be allowed into the Hall of Fame because they didn't have it and you're supposed to be being compared to them. No. Mm-mm. They didn't have it. They didn't need it. You should, sorry. Nope.
Then I have a question. How do we know they were not?
Because that technology did not exist for PEDs and steroids. It didn't.
At some point, it started.
In the 30s and 40s, 30s and 40s, 50s, it did not exist.
No. I understand, but whatever period it did come, let's say 70s. From 70s
I could clear it up.
We have Hall of Famers.
But you know what? If you're good enough to play the game and make it into the majors, then that should be what Hall of Fame entry is based on. You shouldn't need, if you need PEDs to stay in a sport, then you obviously know that your skills are drying up. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. What do you call it? My thing is this. We're using PEDs to cover a very broad term, right? At what point was cocaine a PED? At what point was there was Quaaludes? At what point were those? You know what I'm saying? At what point was speed? It was available early. See, here's the thing. My thing is this. We call it the steroid era, right? Because they're pretty much convinced that bad players became good players became all-stars became all-time greats in that era. And if you look at the stats across the league, you kind of see an increase in home runs, you see faster pitches, you see a lot of statistics that if you add them up, you start to you could deduce that, a lot of the league was on steroids. So my thing is this. Do they deserve an asterisk? Yeah, I do. I think so. I agree with you. Yeah, that's hallowed ground. There should be a standard. I do agree with that. But then another part of me says, well, essentially, we were playing on a level playing field. Roger was pitching to me. He was on steroids. I'm Barry Bonds. I'm hitting home runs. I'm Mark McGwire. You know what I'm saying? And there was pitches out there. So it's like, if we can come to the conclusion, if, and I think this is what we need to do, if we can prove that there was a level playing field, at some point, you could probably say, all right, you can get a win with an asterisk, the steroid era win or something. But like Barry Bonds was a 10-time Gold Glove. You know what I'm saying? He literally had 2 careers, and in his first career, he was a what do you call it? He was a
Hall of Famer.
A Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the reason I use the word deduce and not assume is deduce because I said if you look at other eras, right, those numbers don't jump off the page. You know what I mean? So like there has to be a common denominator. There has to be something there. And maybe I did use that word wrong, but there has to be something there that makes the difference. What was the difference? What was the jump? What made that significant where all of a sudden these home runs are getting launched off the bat? These pitches we're literally pitching 3 to 6 miles faster than they had in the previous era, like when they break it down. What do you call it? Things like that. And again, you saw players like a Brady Anderson that were good, average at best, all of a sudden become all-stars. You saw players that were all-stars all of a sudden now, like a Mark McGwire was always an all-star. He was good, solid, great player. All of a sudden he becomes a legend. Sammy Sosa, who was a good player, all of a sudden becomes an all-time great. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of things there. And again, I'm a believer that you grab those people, and because it was a pretty much a level playing field. If you could establish that first.
Well, that's the thing. You'd have to be able to establish that 100% of players on that field were on something.
Yes.
And you can't.
And you can't. But that's why. But here comes and I know they brought him up a couple of times on the comments. Ken Griffey Jr. That's why he's automatic Hall of Fame, right? Because you just kind of feel like he didn't do anything. He did it the right way, right? That's why Derek Jeter gets in quickly, right? Because there was never any news about any of these guys doing PEDs. So that's why they get right away. But now at this point, all those players that they did play against, you know what I'm saying? Like if Barry Bonds never did take any type of PEDs, he was better than Derek Jeter without, without the steroids.
But but how can we assume that? You're assuming that his career would have continued to be phenomenal, and we don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know if he would have faded.
We don't know that.
Okay, that's very fair. Go ahead, Dre. I see that you're trying to say something, man.
Jen is absolutely right, but that's the reason why it's already a level playing field, because we can't assume the opposite either. That back in the days, guys weren't blood doping and stuff like that. Blood doping is a real steroid. It definitely enhances performance. And it's been around since the 30s with the USSR, Soviet Union, or whatever it was at that time, in the Olympics.
World War II. Yeah.
So it's been around since the 30s in the Olympics. People got caught. They got medals taken away. World Cup.
Wasn't like
World
Nazi
Cup
Germany trying to
taken away. Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
And so it's been around in different forms. Like with what Jen is saying, she's correct, because she's talking about these designer the ways that people are able to hide them and stuff like that. It's like an unfair advantage. But what they used to do, if they couldn't find a needle mark, they couldn't tell that somebody gave 2 pints of blood away on Friday and then re-injected it into themselves on Sunday to play the game.
Mm.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Go ahead, Uz. Go ahead.
Yeah, you go.
Like, I mean, to answer your question, Mike, should they be let in? So technically, I guess no, because it was against the rules in baseball, so it is what it is.
Right.
But when you look at it,
hold up. I don't think it was against the rules, though. I think that's the other part.
All right. Well, let's just say, it's to my overall point.
It was frowned upon.
It was frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
For these particular players in this sport, for me, it's can you prove specifically that by whatever it is that they were taking made them that much better in what compared to what they were already doing. So if Mark McGwire was already hitting home runs, and he took steroids, what was that jump, right? If a pitcher was pitching and his fastball increased by that much out of nowhere, you know what I'm saying? Not by 1 or 2 miles per hour, but a something by baseball significant.
Yeah, like 4 to 6.
Whatever. Like for each individual player is what I'm saying. If you do that analysis on each individual and say, yeah, man, and then kind of, and it's probably hard, kind of recalculate. Okay, if they were doing their normal, what would their numbers might have been if you kind of do a reduction of their stats, and do like, but no one's gonna do that. No one's gonna freaking go.
No one's gonna take the time now.
You know what I'm saying? So it's almost to what Dre was saying is you can't prove it one way or prove it or the other. Just asterisk it and say this was an era and here and there. But to my original point on earlier is, if it was open to let's say it was open to all baseball players, would it matter then? You know what I'm saying?
I feel like this, bro. I feel like in a sport like baseball, fucking Adderall is a far more than steroids. It's far more. Yeah, bigger weapon than steroids. You concentrate, you could see that pea coming at you, that little freaking tiny ball. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Your memory is better. You can remember.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. Would
somebody give me that?
Let me give you a hypothetical, just a hypothetical, just to kind of see perspective. So you know how there's that, cryo freezing that people like to do for recovery?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If that somehow gave an athlete in some sport a huge advantage, would people care?
It does, because everybody can't afford that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about professional athletes. We're talking about professional athletes, right? Don't tell me that they can't afford it. It doesn't cost that much in the realm of a professional athlete.
And at this point,
to keep up with it does.
But my point is, would it be considered an advantage because it's not injected or being taken in the pill?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. That's a good point. Like if you,
That's
first
a
of all,
good point.
this is a cat and mouse game that has to continue and will never go away because this is going to change into putting a plate in your arm. You know what I mean? That's with technology. It's going to change into, at some point maybe having an exoskeleton of some kind. Like there's
That's
always
already being developed for the military.
technological advantages with your body and what you can do with recovery, as far as what you're also putting inside and on the outside of your body. So this is a cat and exactly. It's a cat and mouse game, but you have to at least have some governing body. Like, look, baseball made steroids illegal in 1991. They were illegal, but they didn't test until 2003. So they were illegal. But you just have to have some kind of governing body. You have to cut out the corruption of whatever governing body as much as possible and have some kind of enforcement, knowing that you're always going to be
hypocritical.
But you can't.
And that's kind of why I'm saying open it up and study it and use the right quote unquote combination of PEDs for the sport that it would be applicable in, and maybe filter out something that would be an advantage, or let them all take it. One way or the other. Make it put it out there in the light. Put it out there in the lights, so it's not being done hidden or only some people or whatever. It's like.
But they do allow certain vitamins.
But like for Bonds, for example, someone brought him up earlier.
That's how
my take is that he was still hitting them out the park to begin with.
Who? And baseball specifically, because of the motor learning. Took a class in college. I'm no genius in this shit. But there are...
You slept in the Holiday Inn?
There are fast twitch and slow twitch muscles in the body. Okay. No, real talk. You do track and field, you know that. Yeah. You're genetically made up a certain way. You can either run a marathon or you can sprint. A marathon runner can hardly run 100 meters, if you understand what I'm saying. And a 100-meter runner can hardly run a marathon. You're born a certain way. You're born slim and slender. You're born to be able to bulk up because of your bone mass. And that's basically your genetic makeup. Fast twitch muscles, slow twitch muscles, which can't be affected by enhancing strength and endurance, which is what PEDs does. That's the genetics that's used to make guys as good. Usain Bolt has some of the best fast twitch muscles God has ever given to man, from the way he was able to turn those legs over, is what I'm trying to say. That runner from Kenya, who's been winning the New York City Marathon since the first World Trade Center, he has the best slow twitch muscles God has ever given to me. And at the end of the day, you're not able to alter your genetics. Endurance and strength, you can alter.
Yeah.
But the natural skill and ability, especially in baseball, which is what this specific debate or conversation was about, they still got to be nice. You still got to be able to hit a red bean with a broomstick like they do in DR when they training you.
But Dre, what if it's a fly ball versus 20 feet into the stands?
Now that's absolutely correct. But then that's also hand-eye coordination and timing. So it's still a mix of the two. It is.
Hold on. But this is where.
But that's the way we use it. Enhanced. Yeah.
Like that motor, right? The eye-hand coordination, right? Like your eyes are still a muscle, right? So
they are.
So it enhances more your eye vision.
Are they?
You get not steroids make you blind. Mike said, Adderall. Adderall would.
HGH doesn't.
Yeah, but it's not specifically for eyesight, though. It's not gonna.
I got you. But what I'm saying is that I don't see it taken away. I see it enhancing it, even if it's.
I agree.
And you know what I'm saying?
I'm not disagreeing.
Barry Bonds.
I'm just saying it's a combination of the two.
The Barry Bonds year.
Yeah. You can't, like you said before, we can't just say you can't give me that shit and expect me to hit like Barry Bonds. You have to have a base.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
He was.
But all he's doing is Barry Bonds is now hitting fly balls as home runs and out the park.
in the water.
Here's the thing. I think it's hypocritical, though. I also think not letting him in the Hall of Fame is hypocritical. You know why it's hypocritical? Because those two SOBs saved baseball.
They did.
And that whole steroid era, nobody was watching baseball, man. Baseball was a dying sport. The numbers say the ratings were saying it was a dying sport. All of a sudden, these two monsters come in, start smacking home runs. Runs increase, power, spit, all that increases, and all of a sudden, everybody, all eyes are back on baseball. So now we're gonna take the revenue that you gave us. We're gonna take the ratings that you gave us. We're gonna accept the fact that you saved us, but we're gonna keep you out of the Hall of Fame.
I mean,
they got paid the money for it. You know, they got paid.
Yeah, they
good
still got the money
for it. So the money that they made, they were paid back right away.
I mean,
so the money was reversed. You know,
look,
but as far as
baseball
Barry
was-
Bonds' defense, like the point I made to Dre earlier, is that he was hitting them out the park in the water. Like he could have hit them
in the water
into
to the
stand.
boat.
There were always going to be home runs. It's just that
it's just like the commercial with Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine, right? What was it?
Right.
Shakes love the long ball, right? You know, like the long ball was what made baseball happen. That's what people wanted to see. Nobody wanted to see a strikeout. Everybody wanted to see the long ball.
Just for speculation, guys, because Javi can attest to this. In soccer, it may have seemed like guys started taking steroids because they went from being able to shoot a soccer ball 75, 80 miles an hour to 90 to 100 miles an hour. But that was all because of the technology in the ball.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do. Had nothing to do at all.
Yes.
With anybody trying to get strong. Javi, you can right?
Yeah.
But like you said about endurance, it's probably a guy playing the 110th minute, at efficiency.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that guys. I don't think anybody should have an advantage. I think it should be across the board or off the table. That's my stance.
I don't think you can assume everybody does steroids because the workout regimens. The workout regimens now are much more scientifically kind of specific to know different muscles and which muscles you want to work
Technology,
out.
sports tech.
Pablo does those things like 2 times a day. He could tell us all about those workouts. But no,
you're absolutely right. You're right. Usain Bolt got tested 1,033 times.
Right.
Over his 16-year career and never got a positive.
I got the solution. Forget about
it. Okay, what do you got?
Forget about an asterisk. All the guys that you let into the Hall of Fame, next to their name, put the little arm emoji like this.
That's great. Yeah.
Because we're all about emojis here. We're all about emojis.
Look, we all know who the biggest. We all know who the biggest culprit with PEDs is, right?
Yo, my thing is this, right? If there's one sport, right? If there's one,
just give him a Captain America shirt, the super serum.
Yo, for real. If there's one sport, right? He said in golf. Same with big in golf. What do you call it? There's one sport that I feel it has no place in, and it's rampant. It's rampant.
UFC.
Yeah, right. What's that guy's name?
Man.
Joey Chestnut is on that stuff, man. I'm telling you, Joey.
People could die. People could die.
Combat sports. Right now, the UFC has a major lawsuit by a fighter named Mark Hunt. He's leading the charge.
Go to jail for that.
What happened was he was tested before a fight. So was Brock Lesnar. They fought, and then the UFC revealed that Brock had failed the drug test. Okay? And Mark Hunt says, hey, listen, you put me at risk of bodily harm. Initially, it was thrown out of court. There was a little corruption. Sounded like there was some corruption behind that decision.
Yeah.
And now it was brought back on appeal. And it looks like he's going to win a class action suit against UFC, against one championship, whatever. And I think that's where I draw the line. I don't give a shit if a baseball player uses it. I don't care if a football player uses it. I don't care if J-Lo and The Rock use it. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you something.
Saving that line for the whole time. You were saving it.
I was waiting. But I'll tell you right now, when I see athletes in combat sports and it's so prevalent, man. We got people on the inside that train with a lot of the elite fighters, right, out on the West Coast, and they would tell you the one thing when I'm starting to have my conversations, and I think I know I'm talking about what I'm talking about. He just looks at me with this little smile, like, oh, so you think this is the WWE where there's good guys and bad guys? No, bro. Stop that bullshit. Everybody's on it. Everybody's on some sort. That USADA is all bullshit. It's fake. It's a fraud. It's not real. The people that get caught because they did a misstep. But everybody knows how to bypass the system. And it drives me crazy because you see, like, Canelo comes out, oh, I ate bad meat. Get the hell out of here. You don't eat no bad meat. You know what I'm saying? You got a manufacturer. I don't want to be tested Olympic style. Bro, I love Floyd Mayweather. And he had the best genetic series. You're going to tell he was on something because his hands became frail. He couldn't even punch anymore. You know what I mean? And he started talking about, oh, I'm going to these labs. Yeah, you did. You spent $1 million plus steroids. And that's what I want. I want people to start adding that to the end and said, oh, I spent $1 million on my body plus PEDs. Yeah. I spent $1 million or whatever plus PEDs. Because his hands were falling apart, bro. He couldn't throw a punch without breaking them. And now all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? He's able to get in there. He switched up his style, but he's able to throw precise punches. It doesn't work like that. Your body goes.
And it's not even spend $1 million plus PEDs. Spend $1 million, which includes PEDs.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have guys like, and here's where I get frustrated. Where I get frustrated is I feel like when it comes to PEDs, we play favorites. Right? Some people get away with murder. Okay? Mm-hmm. And it kind of just gets glossed over. Like a Ray Lewis. I used deer antler spray for my arm and now I can play in the Super Bowl. You have a torn bicep, my brother. A torn bicep. But now all of a sudden, yeah, I put deer antler spray on it and I got a brace and I can play.
You got that soccer spray.
Out of my
That's what it was.
Face. Get out of my face with that bullshit. So my whole thing is this, man. We really need to stop. Like, we really need to admit that we're in a day and age, yo, where we're basically lying to our children, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will no longer point to an elite athlete and be like, yo, I'm gonna have to look at him or I only have a daughter, but I have to look at her and say, hey, look, this is your sport. Do your best. Do whatever. You can't even go like back in the day where you could point to like a Muhammad Ali and you could point to somebody and be like, yo, look, do it like them. You could be that. No, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not realistic. And maybe I'm being a pessimist, but I just don't think it's realistic anymore. Your kid is gonna bust his ass, get to a point, and then realize, oh, this is bullshit, bro. I need a competitive edge. Everybody around me is pushing. You know what I mean? And yeah, every now and then, see, this is the other point I want to make. I want to make Ken Griffey. I'm starting to believe Ken Griffey and certain players that I still wholeheartedly believe in are the exception, not the rule. I think they're the exception, man, because most human beings are not that level athlete. Most of us are not. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about 0.001% of the population that gets there. And I think when you get there, you do everything in your power to stay there. You know what I mean? So that's my little.
I mean, I for the most part agree with that point overall. But I mean, there's still going to be, depending on the sport, there's always going to be elite talent. You know, let's take your favorite, subject, Tom Brady. He's doing whatever he's doing to keep playing, but that doesn't enhance his ability to read defenses and carve up defenses when he's playing. And know how to play. It's for him to just be there, to be availability. To your earlier point, it's to be available and still be playing at 44. That doesn't make him a better, QB from the game knowledge of it. He's just doing it longer than what has been the norm in the past.
Yeah, no, you see, he's another guy. I think he has a couple of Hall of Fame careers. He has like 3. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not those guys. I'm not knocking them.
No,
I'm not knocking them. I'm not even mad at them. I'm just more so like, yo, let's be honest, yo. Let's stop bullshitting ourselves that, he's this superhuman. No, he is a superhuman plus PD.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With some assistance.
Right. I'd like to make a comment on that. He's not taking no PEDs, but he's taking PERs, performance enhancing referees. So just wanted to
Hey, he was waiting for that joke. He was waiting to drop that joke the whole time. All right, so we covered that. I think we're pretty thorough on that one. Let's go to our stock up stock down. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a new segment alert. This is stock up, stock down. This is where we pick an athlete, any sport, and I hope you guys chime in to help us out here. Any sport, pick an athlete, and you make an argument why their stock is up, and then you pick another athlete, it could be any sport, and you tell us why their stock is down. So we're going to start with Javito. Who do you got on your plate for stock up, stock down?
All right, man. So, I'm a Knicks fan. So the first one I'm going to go as the stock down is Julius Randle. All right. Ever since the playoffs last year, something just went wrong, right? It just didn't look like we were like, all right, maybe he's going to take the next step next year, right? Well, the first 15 games, his points have gone down. His average is 4 points down per game. Assists are 1 down. His percentage from the field goal is from 45 last year to 41% this year. His 3-point last year was 41%. This year it's at 35%. His free throw percentage last year was 81%. This year it's 75%. Julius Randle, your stock is going down, bro. Down, man. I need you to step this up, bro. I need down. All right.
You got to stock up.
You got to stock up. My man John Morant. That boy's stepping up right now, bro. He's averaging from last year. He's 6.7 points per game up right now. So he went from 19 to 25 points per game. He's basically at the same amount of assists as a point guard. His shooting went from 45 to 49% this year. And then his 3-point percentage last year was 30%, and now it's 38%. So you know who I got to give it to? I got to give it to that boy, John Morant.
John Morant, stock up. Here we go. Hey, Gerard Lothar agrees. He said Randall was always a cleanup man, only not a number one. Exactly. Oh, that's what Javi feels now. All right, Vega, what you got, Mom? Let us know.
Okay. Dad, if you're watching, I love you, and I apologize. I'm just going to start with that. Okay.
Disclaimer.
Stock up. And I know this just happened, but there's a reason that I'm saying this. Noah Syndergaard just got a $21 million contract with the Angels. Now, I came to find out that the Mets went totally silent on him. There was no contact made with him at all before the deadline. So Angels GM Perry Minasian flew to New York, and he wined and dined him last Friday, told him exactly what his training program would be, what would entail him to keep him healthy and get him back in tip-top shape, told him he'd be part of a 6-man rotation so that he could have rest between games, and basically told him he was going to get what he deserved. Syndergaard didn't even go back to the Mets. He agreed right then and there to the terms, which means, you know what? Next season, he's going to be pissed, and he's going to do as well as he possibly can.
Hold on, but on that training regimen, was there any PEDs involved?
Yeah.
Now, stock down.
He's going to need it, that injury-prone bastard.
Dad, I love you. Stock down. I'm sorry I have to say this. Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees. Now, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Halfway through the season, the Yankees upped their testing, and Garrett Cole's stats, his RPM went down by over 200. Over 200.
There's
a provable stat, right?
There's tangible stuff, yeah.
Wait, his whiff rate, the whiff rate against him went down because the ball wasn't rotating as fast as previous, and players didn't need to swing against him as often. And the foul rate against him went up. This was his comment, okay? Because you have to remember where he came from. He came from the Astros. And this is his direct quote from what he said when they questioned him.
Hold on. There might be some garbage cans around me. Hold on.
This is what he said. There are customs and practices that have been passed down from older players to younger players, from past generation of players to this generation of players. I think there are some things that are certainly out of bounds in that regard, and I've stood pretty firm in terms of that. That was his response to when his stats went down after testing.
Bullshit answer if I ever heard one.
So next season, if the Yanks decide all season, you know what? We're going hard on you guys with testing. I don't see his.
He's not going to have a shot. He's not bouncing back. There's no way.
No.
No way.
Because it's already in his head that they're going to be testing him. For his numbers to drop that drastically after they started increasing the testing.
Yeah. You see? This goes back to the PED conversation we're having. It goes all right back to that. Paz, what do you got? Stock up, stock down.
Yeah,
Pablo.
so before I quickly get into that, I hope Thor turns into Fat Thor, just like in the movies.
My husband's a Mets fan, so he's
so am I, unfortunately. All right, so my stock up is rookie NFL quarterback Mack Jones. Now, going into the draft, and maybe Mike, you and I might have talked about it in the past. I felt he was the most ready football IQ.
NFL
I think
ready,
a lot of people would say that, and I wouldn't say necessarily NFL ready because he still has to go and do it, on the field. But up here, I think he was more ready than the other four rookie QBs. But what I didn't think that he would be progressing in what people have said, that the Patriots offense is always very, very complicated to learn and understand. And I thought it might take him a full season to really, really show something really, really tangible to make you take notice. You probably go do the little things right and follow, what Josh McDaniels is putting out there for him every week and everything like that. But lately,
he's in the complex. Yeah,
man, he's there and he's just taking it. He's just reading what's being given to him and hitting whatever's there. And it is reminiscent of Mr. Brady when he was the rookie. Just doing the same thing. So from that perspective, it's almost like similar on that. So that's kind of why, I see that he's going down that path. His stock is up sooner than I thought it would be. My stock down is coming more from a fantasy football perspective because this guy's just pissed me off the last couple of years. Shit the bed because of the opportunity he's had in front of him, and that's Mecole Hardman from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Going into this year, he had the opportunity to cement himself as a number 2. He has the talent. He has the speed, all of that. And he just has not taken advantage of it. Now, can some of it be attributed to the way Mahomes is playing? Maybe so. It depends, semantics. But even last year, sure, Sammy Watkins was there, but we all know Sammy Watkins will pull a hamstring and miss 4 or 5 games every year. You know what I'm saying? So he still has that opportunity, but no, it's always a mix of Mecole Hardman, Robinson, Pringle, and it's like, dude, you're better than those 2 guys. You're much better. You're more athletic. You're faster. You should be killing. You have the advantage because everyone's focused on Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and you haven't exploded. So that's my stock down, and I'm done picking that guy up or drafting him. Yeah.
Usman, stock up, stock down.
So my stock up is Odell Beckham. The reason why he's my stock up. So my stock up is Odell. The reason why I chose him is because, he's always going to be injury prone, like Julio Jones. But, when they have their big seasons, they're guys who produce. Odell, when he was on the Giants, was getting volume, was being utilized the right way, and he produced. He was a superstar. He went to Cleveland. Baker couldn't get him the ball. Running team just never worked out for him. Now he goes to LA. Keep in mind, New York, big media, LA, big media. Odell's into that. He hated being in Cleveland. So now with Matt Stafford, with that coaching staff, with that kind of talent around him and a pass-heavy team, I mean, that coach can get, an average receiver to look good. I think they're going to maximize Odell, and he's going to be – I don't know about this year, but next year he's going to go – off the chart. So Odell is on a rise, and I believe that, gradually throughout the season, hopefully in the playoffs, you're going to see a different transformed Odell. I'm going to stay in LA. My low is LeBron. What I mean to say by that is LeBron is, to me, the greatest of all time, but it's a topic for another day. Even Jordan never won one past 35. LeBron's 36. LeBron is on a team that I don't think is better than the Suns, who won like 10 games in a row right now. I don't think he's better than the Warriors, and Klay's not even on a team just yet. I don't know if he could beat the Bucks. I don't know if LeBron has the supporting cast, and usually LeBron has been the guy that just becomes Superman, gets that serum, becomes into Captain America, and goes off.
That
but
serum?
I don't
Are we
believe
talking about that serum?
We're sticking with the theme
Who knows,
tonight. We're
but-
sticking with the
yeah,
theme.
so
Yeah.
I don't know if LeBron has it in him to carry a team anymore, and I believe he's not going to win another ring. So holding him to that super high pedigree that I hold him to, I don't believe he has another chip in him. Therefore, he's on a decline.
Stock down. Got you. Akil, stock up, stock down. It's going to be hilarious.
I've learned some
man.
interesting things. Some interesting things this show. I've learned that that Dana White has the same lawyers as OJ, apparently. I've learned that Javi regrets naming his dog Randall. There's a whole bunch of different things, but let me say this first of all. This is why Knicks fans can't have nice things. You got the first All NBA player since Carmelo, probably only the second one since Pat Ewing, and you guys want to run him out of town already. He's going to have less usage when you add Kemba Walker, Alec Burks, when you add Fournier. Like that's going to happen, and when you don't have as much of a zone and you're not as much the game not running through you, your percentages will drop a little bit till you get adjusted. Stock up, NBA referees. People are enjoying the game at a faster pace. That when you call less fouls, there's less flopping. It's as more effective than fining. You're seeing people actually look at offensive dynamos and say, "Wow, this guy went from 12 free throws a game to 5, or this guy went from 10 free throws a game to 6," and it's changed a little bit on how they play. Now, if you're a little old school, you like to see some banging inside. It's good, but it also takes away from that a little bit, and it tilts even more towards 3-point shooting. So I think the pace of the game is what they're going for. It was helpful, and I have heard people complain about NBA refs less this year than I ever have. Yeah. I don't know if it's because they're focused on NFL refs and taking that out on them, or that's just kind of a sample of both. Stock down. Look, I'm very sensitive to mental health issues. I'm very sensitive to mental health issues.
Dude, when we put this out, I just knew. I didn't even want to ask you because I just knew who he was gonna pick. That shit is hilarious.
What are you doing? Stop telling me and the rest of the world that you can't play for your mental health only for one team, but you should still get paid. Like it's enough already. If you can't handle it, go home, wait till they trade you, and that's it. But this is ridiculous. And what I care about most is it hurts his stock even more with other teams. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't help you. Daryl Morey is not going to trade you for a role player because it makes zero sense to us. We already have role players up and down our roster. To get another role player does not help at all. Like you might as well sit him. Facts. We have 10 players who could play 15 to 20 minutes on the basketball court. We don't need another role player. Sit him down. And when you want to come back, build your trade value a little bit. Let's rock out. But besides that, stock down Ben Simmons, stock up Dana White's lawyers, stock up NBA referees.
That was a nice, calm, and collected.
That's as calm as we're gonna get and talk about it. Yeah. Oh, and so Dre, you already got called out. She said, Ayoka said, you're definitely going to talk about Steph Curry. And leave LeBron James alone.
My girlfriend's not being fair. She's using the knowledge card. She's using the knowledge card against me.
Yeah.
But I'll flip it around for some suspense and the segue AK just gave me, which is the NBA referee. So I'll start with my stock down, which is James Harden. And that's directly because of the NBA referees. I love what the refs are. James Harden, his craftiness is being equalized, is being neutralized by the new way that they're making these calls. He's not ending up on the foul line as much. He's not seeing the ball go through the basket to develop a rhythm. So James Harden, until he figures out how the new NBA is rocking, his stock is down. And like my girlfriend very eloquently stated, stock up Steph Curry. First of all, this guy, if you're just looking at the influence he has on the overall team, he's better than his MVP year 5 years later. I don't know who else can say that as a player.
Monster.
I don't know who else can say that the one knock people had on him which was he couldn't play defense, he completely shoved everybody's foot in their mouths this year because he's up on the high list on steals, and he's actually getting down and playing defense. If you look, high defensive rating. So for me, Stephen Curry stock is on the rise.
And I'm sure
this season's MVP. And this little trophy right here, this one, we're getting another one at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I'm sure those less fouls is helping him pick up his defensive game.
Hell yeah.
Because now he can get up on people, you know what I'm saying? Because those calls aren't coming.
Man, he's 185 pounds. I can't get up on the
All right, so my stock up, stock down. So I'm going to start off with my stock down. And this one hurts, man, because I drank the Kool-Aid, bro. I'm going to flat out admit it. I drank the Kool-Aid, bro, with this guy. Jorge Masvidal in the UFC. I absolutely drank the Kool-Aid. I was one of his biggest fans, and I kind of realized, yo, dude, I'm slowly realizing this guy's a fraud. He is what Kobe Covington says he is, a journeyman fighter. I mean, don't get me wrong. He has his highlights. I like his attitude. But when it comes to wins and losses, he's not elite. He's not. He gets dominated. And when you look at the division, there's no wonder. I don't care what anybody says. I think he's dodging this whole Edwards fight. I don't think he wants any parts of Covington. You know what I mean? Those guys will dominate him. And I know Kamaru Usman just did it 2 in a row. You know what I mean? But I was one of those guys, the BMF, all that stuff. I fell for it, man. And now as I watch him, I'm like, stock down, man. You're not really not who I thought you were in terms of actual skill level, skill set. You know what I mean? I really thought you were more of an elite fighter. And I'm realizing, no, you're middle tier. You're still good. I mean, I respect you. You're a fighter, but you're not who I thought you were. Stock up. Sean Porter. Sean Showtime Porter. Let me tell you something about Sean Porter. 147-pound welterweight. Has fought. He is the opposite of what we criticize boxing about. We criticize boxing because the best does not fight the best. They avoid each other. They make business decisions. Sean Porter is the exception to that rule. He has fought Danny Garcia, Adrian Broner. He's fought Errol Spence. He fought, the light-skinned dude. Man, what's his name? Or whatever. He's fought the who's who of the division. Has not backed down to anybody. He's put his style on the line against any. And now he has put his style on the line against, in my opinion, the best pound-for-pound boxer in boxing. Terrence Crawford. The nerve, the ball, whatever you want to call it, that you have to do that is insane. And he's the only one doing it. So to me, I don't know if he's going to win. I don't think so. You can check me and AK. We're going to do our 10-count segment on the Sports is My Love Language group, and we'll kind of break down the fight. But I'll tell you right now, not only is he one of the most exciting fighters in boxing, but he has the biggest heart in boxing, especially now after watching Canelo, right, leave his divisions, these divisions where there's a lot of young lions, and to go up for a title that I don't believe anybody gives a damn about. And I honestly believe, I respect him. I love Canelo, but I think it's a business decision. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's making that move because there's a Benavidez, there's a Charlo, there's some young lions down there, and he's not facing. So for that reason alone, I'm giving Sean Porter all the props in the world for showing the rest of the boxing world what it should look like and how you should approach the fight game. And that's my stock up, stock down. All right, so we're moving on. Last segment of the what do you call it? As usual, ladies and gentlemen, you come to us and we slide you in to Thursday Night Football, and we close out with our predictions. What are our Thursday night predictions? Javito, what is your
29
for tonight's game?
It's 29 again.
Patriots 29, Falcons 21, baby.
Oh, all right. Jen, what do you got?
And Mack runs in for a touchdown, for a 1-yard touchdown.
Oh yeah.
Good. I got him as my captain showdown on DraftKings, so that would be great.
Jen, what do you got?
I'm taking Patriots 27-20.
27-20. Okay.
All right, I got Pats.
Go
I
ahead.
got Pats 30-17. Right on the total points line.
All right. What do you got?
21-17 Atlanta.
21-17 Atlanta. All right. AK, what do you got?
I'm going 24-13 New England Patriots. And I just want to say to the audience, the same energy you have for Floyd, keep that with Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about that. When we do our 10 count, we got to address that. All right. Drake.
I'm going closer. 24-21 Patriots.
Ooh.
Okay, so basically because our overall record is crap. So like right now, I feel like I have I have the same amount of chance of getting this shit right as if I grabbed shit and threw it at a wall. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna call the upset. I'm going to Atlanta 24, Patriots 17, and that's it.
And
That's our call for the night.
Not 28-3. Not 28-3.
Nah. Yeah, right. Like in the Super Bowl.
I'll have
I'm going
our
I'm going
total
to-
record up to date, posted on our group page.
Yo,
Yeah,
real
this
story.
weekend.
1 year at Kane, the football team was so bad. They came back. My roommate was the quarterback. They won a game at Mount Ida College, 3-0, on the same day that our soccer team beat a team 11-0. So we had closer to the score than the football team, bro.
They were terrible, bro.
Greg, we won 0 games my freshman year as well. Rutgers
Oh, yeah,
University
Rutgers.
won 0 games my
I thought they
freshman
win 0 games every year, no?
Oh.
Nah, they actually they beat Indiana this week, bro.
Nah, man,
Indiana.
no. They're 500 this year. No, they're above 500, right?
Greg
Shiano's
Ciano had it going for a couple years there,
I used to
man.
go to
He got-
those
When
Rutgers
it-
games and they used to lose by like 50-0 to Miami.
Hey, did anybody go to the Louisville? I was at the Louisville Rutgers game where they upset Louisville. What year was that? 2000.
Go.
Nah, I was
Greg
there.
Schiano's
I was one of the
back.
assholes. I was one of the assholes that ran on the field too early. I was one of the assholes that ran on the field too early at the end of the game, and then they made us go all the way. Yo, I was at like the 20-yard line, out of breath. Dude, out of breath, like pulling out the fucking asthma pump. I had to walk my ass all the way back, and they were trying to tell me you got to come back over into the student section. I looked at the security guard like, yo, just put the handcuffs down because I'm not making over that wall, bro. Just whatever, bro. I don't even care.
Listen,
All right.
that's the Greg Schiano days when with Ray Rice we used to beat the hell. Let me stop.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. Don't get us canceled. All right.
Other teams.
Technical foul
that's
foul
right.
on the Phillies fan.
Yeah. Red card. All right, so check it out.
We used to beat out other teams. But he's back.
So check it
He's
out.
back, so we can rock.
Yeah, chop that wood. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for the interaction. As always, like, share, comment. Let us know what you're thinking on what we're talking about. Let's explore. Let's go down. Don't let because we're off the live. Go back, rewatch the video, any parts of it. Put a timestamp and let us know what you think about that particular topic. We want to thank you, everybody, for coming through. Once again, this is the crew: Avito, Jen Vega. We got AK, Usman, P.ED, Pablo, and my man Dre. And we are out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Sports is My Love Language podcast. And once again, see us every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, off the beaten path. Have a good one, guys.
Hey!
Yeah.